Nelly froze at the edge of the flooded creek, soaked in mud and trembling from the cold. Then I heard it, a faint squeak beneath the storm. Not a bark, not a cry, just the tiniest sound from under a pile of dead branches. She started digging like her life depended on it. And somehow, in that mess of water and wind and darkness, she found her pups. Now the story begins. I live on a small farm with my dad. It's not much, just some chickens, cows, cats, rabbits in an old red barn that leaks when it rains. A few months ago, our dog Nelly gave birth to 4 puppies. She's a mix, some kind of shepherd, and maybe something else. She's not very big, but she's smart. She had her puppies in the corner of the barn, tucked in a little space behind the hay bales. We let her stay there because it was warm and dry. The pups were tiny. They looked like fat little mice at first. I named them Spot, Rusty, Bean, and Tiny. Tiny was the smallest. He was the one I always worried about. I fed Nelly extra during that time. She was a good mom. She didn't leave them much, and if she did, it was only to eat or stretch her legs. She kept them clean, licked them a lot. The other animals didn't bother her. She gave them that look, and they stayed away. It was quiet for weeks. Then the storm came. The weather had been hot all day. The air felt thick and heavy, like something bad was coming. I could feel it in my bones. That night, just after dinner, it started raining. At first, just drops. Then the wind picked up and the thunder came rolling through the hills like someone dragging metal over the ground. Dad said we'd better check the barn. We grabbed flashlights and ran out. The rain was already coming down in sheets. The barn roof was leaking again. Water pooled near the doors, and one of the windows had blown open. We pushed it shut and checked the animals. Nelly was in her corner with the pups. She looked nervous. Her ears were back. She gave me a low whine. I counted the pups. Only 3. Tiny was missing. I froze. My light flashed over the straw, the hay, the corners. I thought maybe Tiny had crawled behind something. But Nelly was already moving. She stepped over her other pups and started sniffing the ground. Her tail was low. Her nose dragged through the wet straw. She barked once, sharp and quick, then pushed her head under a loose board near the back of the barn. There was mud there and a little water from the leak. She pulled back out. Tiny wasn't there. The storm got louder. Thunder cracked so close it shook the floor. Nelly barked again, then looked at me like she needed help. I told Dad, and he said maybe the pup got out through a hole. There were plenty. The barn's old. Animals slip through all the time. Nelly didn't wait. She pushed her way out the barn door and into the rain. I followed her. I didn't even grab a jacket. The rain hit hard. It was cold and angry. The flashlight barely worked with all the water coming down. I saw Nelly's tail disappearing into the night. She didn't run far. She was sniffing the ground like crazy, going in fast circles, digging her paws into the mud. She barked again, louder this time. Then she stopped and just listened. It hit me then. She could still hear Tiny. The pup must have been out there somewhere, maybe stuck, maybe too small to cry loud. The wind covered everything. We searched for hours. Dad brought another flashlight. He kept calling me crazy, but he helped anyway. We looked under the shed, around the chicken coop, even in the drainage ditch. Nelly never gave up. She was soaked, covered in mud. shaking from the cold, but she kept sniffing and digging and listening. It was close to midnight when something changed. I had started to feel numb. My clothes were soaked. My hands were raw from falling in the mud. I was ready to give up, even though I didn't want to say it out loud. But Nelly stopped. She froze near the edge of the field, right where the slope dips into the creek bed. The creek was flooded now, roaring with brown water, rushing over rocks and roots. No pup could survive in that. I thought she had lost the trail, but then I heard it. A tiny sound, not even a bark, more like a squeak. It barely rose above the wind. I thought maybe I imagined it, but Nelly heard it too. She started digging. She clawed at a thick tangle of grass and sticks. There was a downed branch there, half buried in mud. Maybe it fell during the storm. Nelly shoved her nose under it, whining. I dropped to my knees and helped her. My fingers were so cold I couldn't feel anything, but I pulled at the sticks, ripped the grass apart. And then I saw him. Tiny. He was curled up in a ball, stuck in a shallow dip in the ground, barely covered. His fur was soaked, his eyes shut tight. But he moved, just barely. Nelly reached in and gently grabbed him by the scruff. She pulled him out like he weighed nothing. She turned and started back toward the barn without even waiting for me. I followed, crying and smiling at the same time. Back in the barn, Nelly placed Tiny beside his brothers. They nuzzled him like they'd been waiting. He was cold but alive. I grabbed an old towel and wrapped him up. We had a space heater in the corner. I plugged it in and sat there with the pups, watching Nelly clean Tiny's face over and over. She didn't stop for a long time. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Nelly. She curled around her pups and stayed awake, ears twitching every time the wind blew. The storm moved on by morning. The sun came out like nothing had happened. But the barn smelled like wet earth and old wood, and the floor was a mess. Tiny made it, though. Tiny was weak for a while, but he got stronger. He stayed close to Nelly more than the others did. It was like he knew what she did. I never forgot that night. I never forgot how Nelly looked in the rain, shaking but focused, like nothing else mattered but finding her baby. Some people don't think dogs know what love is. I do, because I saw it that night. After that night, I looked at Nelly differently. I'd always loved her, sure. She was our farm dog, our friend. She'd been around since I was 12. But after what she did for Tiny, I started seeing something else in her. Something deep. She wasn't just a pet. She was a mother. She had a heart that wouldn't quit. I started spending more time with her. I'd sit with her in the barn in the mornings before chores. Just quiet. The pups would pile on each other while she watched them. She'd lean into me sometimes, like she knew I understood her better now. And I did. Some days, I'd take Nelly out into the field just to walk. No reason. No chores. Just to be with her. She stopped chasing birds. She stayed close to me. If I sat down, she sat too. If I got quiet, she looked at me like she was waiting for me to talk. I told her things I never told anyone, about how I felt stuck on the farm, how I didn't know what I wanted in life, how sometimes I felt like I wasn't doing enough. She didn't answer, of course, but she listened. That was enough. Tiny stayed small. The others got bigger, faster. Rusty and Bean started roughhousing all the time. Spot got brave, and would sneak into the chicken pen when Nelly wasn't looking. But Tiny, he was different. He stayed close to Nelly. He followed her everywhere. If she stood, he stood. If she laid down, he curled into her side. At first I thought he was just weak, but then I realized he was just afraid of being left behind again. Nelly never pushed him away. Not once. One evening, I sat out behind the barn with Nelly while the pups rolled around in the grass. Tiny was asleep in her front paws. The wind was soft. The sky was pink and orange. I scratched Nelly behind the ears and said, "You're a good mom." She looked up at me and licked my hand. It wasn't much, but it felt like something big. That was when I knew something had changed between us. I wasn't just a person to her anymore. I was part of her pack. As the weeks passed, the pups grew. We gave 2 away to neighbors. Spot and Bean went together to a family down the road. Tiny stayed. So did Rusty. Nelly was calmer with just 2 to watch over. She still gave them that firm little growl when they got too rough, but she relaxed more. Winter rolled in cold and quiet. We moved Nelly and the pups inside at night. I set up a bed for her in the laundry room. She curled into it like she'd lived there her whole life. I started sleeping nearby, just on a mat. I told my dad it was because I didn't trust the cold. But really, I just wanted to be near her. There's something about quiet time with the dog. No one else is around. No words. Just breathing and the soft sound of paws shifting on a blanket. Sometimes she'd nudge my leg. Sometimes she'd rest her head on my foot. It was nothing big, but it felt like she was saying, "I see you." I'd nod, like, "I see you too." Nelly didn't need much. Just food, warmth, and her little family. She made me feel like that was enough for me, too. I didn't think much about college anymore, or moving to the city, or getting away from the farm. Not because I gave up, just because I started seeing things here I never saw before. Like how Nelly taught her pups to wait at the door before going out. Or how she always sat facing the wind, like she wanted to smell what was coming. She had no plans, no future goals. She just lived, loved, protected. It made me want to do the same. Here comes the end of this story. If you enjoy listening and watching, please kindly like, comment, subscribe to this channel for more beautiful pet stories like this. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell button so we get to notify you anytime we post new pet story like this one you just finished listening and watching. Thanks for your time. See you in our next pet story.